Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Panthers Game 2 Panther franchise for Madden 23. We're at the end of the 2023-24 season, and this episode is going to be all about reviewing the season, kind of a preview for the offseason as we get ready to move into what we hope is maybe a Panther dynasty after kind of surprisingly getting all the way to the Super Bowl and winning the thing. As you can see on the screen, if you haven't been following in the videos, we did get to the Super Bowl. We did win the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, and breakout superstar Raheem Blackshear just came and took over the league in the second half of the year. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But just to set you guys up for what's going to happen on this episode, we're going to review some things. So it's no gameplay. We're actually not going to make a lot of decisions in this particular episode. Basically, we're going to review what happened last year, and we're going to talk about what we might need to do going into the next year. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, then hang out with us. Also, like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Okay, so as we said, we won the big dance last year. But one of the things I want to do is kind of look at our schedule and kind of talk about how this thing kind of came to be. So we started out with, okay, what is this? Oh, hold up. This is what we want. We want team schedule. Yeah. And looking at the regular season here, start out a game against the New York Giants and start out the season with the L, 34-13. And the Colts, we got to win. Lions, we got to win. This is before. We're looking at the Giants. If we just kind of look at what our team looked like when we started, we had Bryce Young, Blackshear, and let me see. Will they show? They don't show all the other players, but we also had what is his name? The wide receiver. Oh my gosh, I think he plays for the Colts now. Let me see who. Oh, Thielen, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was on our team, and he was doing his thing, but. Yeah, the team was pretty struggling at the start of the year. We again struggling with an identity, a lot of wide receivers on our team. Weren't quite sure who the targets were going to be. Also had some defensive players on our team that we weren't quite sure where they fit completely in. So you see, we kind of started with a loss. We get a big win against the Colts, who ended up struggling throughout the year. And then we get a big win against the Lions. Oh man, I remember this game. This game against the Patriots went into overtime and we ended up losing it. Man, this was one of those ones. It was a fun game to play, fun to get going with. But the breakout for this game was this guy, Richard Bibbs, which if you guys were with us in the first offseason, you know that Richard Bibbs was one of our targets for receiver. And we decided to move down to not select him. He came back and bit us. Ezekiel Elliott was on their team, also playing really good. Ezekiel Elliott finished, I think, third in the league overall in rushing. And so the Patriots were looking good. Texans, we beat them. And really, you know, you can see we're kind of loss, win, loss, win, loss. We kind of winning some and losing some. And it's right around here, week number 12, that things really start to shift for our team. Actually, maybe week number 11 is when things start to shift for our team, because we played the Saints. The Saints were struggling all year. We beat them. And then we had a breakout scenario, I believe, in this Titans game. The breakout scenario was, can we get Blackshear 100 yards? And in that game, actually, you know what? Before we even get into that game, is there a way to show? I wonder if they'll show transactions for the year. Will they show transactions? I don't know if there's a way to look at that like by week. Let me see. Let's go to Panthers and see if they'll show kind of what we did. Okay, so Jeremy Chin. Okay, so yeah, right here, week 7, we traded away Jeremy Chin, Leighton Vander Esch, and Adam Thielen in week 7. And that trade brought us some offensive linemen. We're not seeing it here. Let's go to the Browns because I want you guys to see kind of how this thing started to come together. So the Browns are who we traded, and the Browns doesn't show what we got. Oh, maybe this isn't it. So we just traded. Apologies. We traded all of that, and we got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. There was another trade that we made though. There was another trade because we got a trade that brought us some offensive linemen. And I'm not seeing that trade. I'm not seeing that at all. Nope, I'm not seeing that. Maybe that wasn't. I could have swore that we did a trade like that. Anyway, it's right around this Titans game though, like we said, where we had the breakout, and suddenly the offensive line that we did amass, suddenly they became very good with the run. I mean, they just start opening up stuff. Ikwanu opened up stuff. This guy Idoga started to open up stuff. Corbett came in and opened up stuff. These are all players. I believe what we traded for. We got Austin Corbett and we got I think it might be one of these guys, Idoga. But all of a sudden, man, we had a solid offensive line. And that offensive line at first was giving up a lot of sacks. I mean, they were giving up a lot of sacks. It can come, is it week 7? I think it was right before the bye week. If I come into this Falcons game, I think this is going to show where we... Okay, so Young gets sacked twice in this game. And Falcons. Actually, we can look at it right here in the box score. Where are the sacks? Oh, maybe we can't look at it in the box score. This is the game we looked at before. So after the Falcons, Jaguars maybe? It was a game where we gave up a lot of sacks. Here's one of them. Yeah. Bryce Young had 5 sacks in this game. It was right after the trade, and I started to think, oh man, this offensive line is not doing the thing that we thought it would do for us. We were looking for protection against the pressure on the quarterback. Anyway, all that is to say, we got to the place where, man, we all of a sudden had this breakout run. And we have Raheem Blackshear, who had his first breakout game of the year, 194 yards and 3 touchdowns on the Tennessee Titans. And that game just gave our team a ton of confidence, gave the offensive line a ton of confidence. And from that moment on, we started to wonder, maybe the pass game wasn't it. And so we started to run the ball a lot more. And here we got 177 total rushing yards against the Buccaneers. And then after that, I wish we could just like hit next. After that, we only 172 yards against the Bears, and on. Suddenly now, the Panthers became kind of a rushing team. And so from that moment on, man, it's W's, and we win the rest of the way out, pretty much on the back of Raheem Blackshear. Everything changed on our team, I believe, with the trade of the whichever trade it was that brought us the lineman, and all of a sudden that changed everything. And we stopped looking to pass. We were looking to go deep with Lucas, and everything was going toward the pass, trying to feature Bryce Young. But Raheem Blackshear just became the guy that seemed like he was going to be the one to make it all go. And that's what happened. Yeah. Very interesting stuff anyway. So let's look at the team stats real quick, kind of see where we landed. Here's the offense and the total yardage. We lead the league with total yardage, 8,586 total yards. And look at this, 2,227 yards on the ground by the team, the number one rushing team in the league. Enough to push our entire offense offensively, at least by yardage, over the hump. And then you can see here, we also lead the team with points per game, but that's a little nebulous. I know when we play the games versus not playing the game. Patriots are right behind us, and then the Chiefs right behind them. But yeah, all of a sudden this offense just got something going, man. First downs gained, rushing touchdowns. We only had 29 rushing touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott and the crew, 37. That's a lot of touchdowns. But that is how this team looked on the offensive side. We ended up, becoming the number one offense in the league. And then, of course, defense is just always a little funky when it comes to playing the games versus simming the games. But we didn't do bad here as well. Allowed the least amount of total total yards, 26 total interceptions. The Vikings behind us with 23. And we forced or recovered. These are fumble recoveries, 14 recoveries. So got turnovers that way. So overall, 40 turnovers is what this team did, and 61 sacks. And that was a big thing for us. We wanted to get pressure, and we started to bring pressure from everywhere. The scheme that we chose to run was designed to create pressure from all over the places. All over the place. So let's look at third down conversions. Last year, our third down conversions were terrible, and here we are. We're not that good. We're 72, but let's look at percentage. Third down percentage. 60% for the top of the league, and we were down here about 48% on third down conversions. Not bad, but you want to be better with that. We didn't do a whole lot of 2-point attempts. Fourth down conversions were 42%. So overall, not amazing there. Red zone efficiency, I feel like we should be at the top of this. We had so many stops on the one. 105 red zone trips, and that's because there were so many stops on the 1 yard line. If you go back and look at the games, we just got stopped on the 1, the 2, the 3 yard line so often. But we got 50 out of the 105 red zone attempts, which is not bad, 47%. But that's obviously not the best in the league. These guys were much better. It's like the Falcons led everybody with red zone points percentage. Touchdowns allowed. We allowed 22. Let's look at turnovers real quick and see where we were with it. As we said, we had a lot of turnovers. We led the league with interceptions, fumbles lost, takeaways. Let's look at takeaways. Yeah, we had the most takeaways overall. So if we had 29 interceptions, then 12 fumbles, that math isn't mathing. If it's 12, and this should either be 43 or that should be 12. I don't know, Madden. Math is not right there. But look at this, man. So the team, all in all, the team played well. Let's take a look at some of the individual player statistics. Bryce Young with 4,114 yards. A decent season. We want to try to get over 4,000 yards in our seasons. Way too many interceptions. 29 interceptions. A lot of them were my fault, but a lot of them were just bad throws as well. Sacked 40 times. And that's kind of I don't know what that looks like league-wise, but that is a lot of sacks. Let's look at sacks. 41, 49. Oh yeah, we're probably some of the highest in the league when it comes to sacks. Again, I think that was happening earlier season. Bryce Young did play all games of the season though, didn't get injured in any of them, and he does have. I guess he's progressing. I mean, if we look at his season from this year to last year, let's see. Last year he had more yards. Look, the numbers are exactly the same, 31 and 29. But we did a lot less with him this year, especially with the run game. So you could say that he was actually tracking to be better, but we pulled back, or maybe not. Who knows? He had 4,100 yards, but we started running the ball. So I don't know. Bryce Young stayed about the same. Not much progress with regard to his season statistics. Of course, Raheem Blackshear made a huge step forward. Offensive Player of the Year, as you're going to see. But he has 1,839 yards. Bryce Young went 300. But 1,839 rushing yards for Blackshear. Almost a 2,000 yard season. If he'd have gotten off to a bit of a quicker start, then maybe he would have gotten that. And who knows, this year, this season coming up, maybe he's going to be a 2,000 yard back. But this guy just, man, moved completely forward, has a superstar trait now, and I can't wait to kind of see what else we're going to do with him. Love that his break tackle is 88 now. His speed is 91. Kind of want to get him a little more break tackle stuff, but he started breaking tackles at the end of the season. Excited for what Blackshear is going to bring in the next season. Jonathan Mingo ended up leading the receivers. Mingo was the guy behind Thielen and kind of became the Thielen replacement. With only 55 receptions, he ended up with 1,000 yards this season, 6 touchdowns, and the most yards per game. So Mingo quietly leading this team in receptions. Lucas got all the pub because he got the 15 touchdowns. He was the recipient of so many of those red zones that we talked about, those red zone trips. Almost 1,000 yards though. And Tyrone Lucas was brought here to be a deep threat and ended up being a pretty sure-handed red zone target. Longest play is 59. Mingo had a longer reception of 74. But yeah, these two guys are going to be with us for a while, Mingo and Lucas. Hayden Hurst comes in after that, and pretty much everyone else. Tyler Scott only played the last, maybe 2 games? And we thought we'd get more out of Rashee Rice, but it turns out he was not as reliable as we thought he would be. So the best 2 receivers, Mingo and Lucas. Planning to keep them and build on them. Blocking, sacks allowed. Ooh, Terrence Steele allowed a ton of sacks on the right side. It's no bueno. Let's go to defense. This is what I love, man. Tyrone Porter, we drafted him, wasn't quite sure where he fit. Drafted him as a free safety. Tried him out at strong safety, and boy, did he pay dividends. 94 total tackles, led the team. 50 assists, 16 tackles for loss, led the team in tackles for loss. No, he didn't. Let's see. Brian Burns led, but he's second. Tyrone Porter was the rookie of the year. And coming back to Porter, 3 interceptions, 3 deflections, fumble recovery. I feel like he had more. I thought he had more fumble situations. Tyrone Porter, one of our better players for sure. Owusu-Koramoah, man, this was a great trade for us. He came in and played well immediately. Got sacks. He was pretty much all over the place. Kind of a utilitarian back. We definitely want to keep him. He was fantastic. Dante Jackson played solid on the left side. They challenged him a lot, especially with J.C. Horn, as someone that the CPU didn't seem to want to throw to. He had a pretty good season as well. 4 interceptions, but he should have a lot of pass deflections. Yeah, 26 pass deflections. That's because they're going to him quite a bit. Jimmy Rogers, we want to see more of, but nice to see him with the 57 tackles, 1 interception, and the 8 tackles for loss. CJ Henderson came in, actually got some nice sacks toward the end of the season. Interested to see what we do with him. Xavier Woods, JC Horn. JC Horn led everyone in the league in interceptions, 14 interceptions this season, 1 tackle for loss, but basically a coverage giant, and 22 deflections, only behind Untitled Jackson in that category. Von Bell, we still wish we could get more out of him, especially for what he's costing us. He had 45 tackles, and want to keep him on the team, but he's a guy that we may make some decisions about. That's kind of what's going on the defense. Let's see. We talked about sacks. So did we talk about Brian Burns? Yeah, Brian Burns, 41 total tackles. Wish he had a little bit more than that, but 17 sacks will deliver. That'll get it done. We like those. We really do like those. Okay. Looking at some of the league leaders in these categories as we kind of come back and just kind of see how the season ended. Russell Wilson led all passers with 5,300. Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, and then Deshaun Watson. Behind him, Josh Allen, Prescott, and Brandon Holman. Again, this is a rookie. Came in and had a pretty good season for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think they're going to be somebody we have to worry about. Derrick Henry led all rushing, as we mentioned earlier, or if we didn't mention earlier, Derrick Henry is the leader. Blackshear was very close, only about 44, 46. What's that? 36 yards away from taking the title. Ezekiel Elliott behind him, and then Josh Jacobs with 1,422 yards for them. 18 touchdowns for Blackshear, 19 for Henry. So a solid season for these players. Hunt was there, got with the Cowboys and had a pretty good season. So there's a look at the running backs. And here's the receivers. Stephon Diggs leads all receivers with 1,766 yards. Olave next. Mari Cooper with Deshaun Watson, and then Van Jefferson. And then, of course, Devontae Adams with the receptions. As a receptions leader. Behind him, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Judy, and Jamar Chase. All the players you'd expect to see in the top positions there. Looking at the defense, we look like at Barnes, Campbell, Divine Diablo with the most tackles, or at least number three, Bobby Wagner and Jerome Baker. Looking at the sack leaders, Hassan Reddick was 18, and for some reason our guy, is our guy in here in this list? Yeah, for some reason we don't show up in the list. I don't know why player teams don't show up in the sack list, but we have 17. So Garrett, Crosby, we show up right about here with TJ Watt and Aaron Donald. But Khalil Mack, Vita Vea was amazing every time we played them. And then interceptions. Again, our players aren't showing up here for some reason, but we had 14 for JC Horn, Logan Wilson, Roger McCrary, and then I think we had a player with 8. 14. Oh no, it's just we just had him. And so there you go. There's a picture of the statistics for the year. Looking at the awards, let's look at the yearly awards. And if you missed it in the previous, we'll fire right through this. Patrick Mahomes had the MVP of the year. And the New York Jets, I thought we got MVP. Well, maybe we didn't. Okay. And then we're going to go down to the NFC, and we're going to just show you. Blackshear was the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC, as well he should be. Aaron Donald was the Defensive Player of the Year. I thought we had Burns. Did this change? Maybe this changed. I have to go back and look at the previous video. Tyrone Lucas with the Offensive Player Rookie of the Year beats out Brandon Holman and Quentin Harvey for that honor. And the Defensive Player of the Year, Tyrone Porter. So we kind of took a sweep there. Best quarterback is Fields. Best running back is Blackshear. Chris Godwin is the best receiver. Zach Martin, best offensive lineman. Best defensive lineman, Burns right here next to him. Linebacker, Hassan Reddick. Owusu Koromoa was in the list, and maybe he'll stand up a little bit later. J.C. Horn, Tyrone Porter, and then we've got our kicker. So let's look at that, and then let's take a quick look at the AFC. Lamar Jackson is the Offensive Player of the Year for AFC, and TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Richard Bibbs, the receiver, with the new quarterback for the Raiders behind him for the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then Defensive Rookie of the Year, the Raiders, Nick Thornton. The Raiders look like they had a pretty good draft last year. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback, Derrick Henry. Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams in the mix, and Myles Garrett, TJ Watt with Max Crosby in the mix, and Jalen Ramsey. So those are your season leaders, and hopefully that gives you a nice little recap of the season. A nice little recap. Now let's take a look at some of the players whose traits increased. So we do have, let's see. I know for certain that Blackshear moves up to superstar. And so far, no changes on that side. Mingo was a star before, and so he stays there. Bryce Young remains that star. And I think the rest of these guys remain the same. Jenkins, everybody else is the same on the offense. The only thing that happened on offense was our guy. But this is where some of the big things happen. Burns was already a superstar X Factor, but J.C. Horn moves up to a superstar X Factor. And J.C. Horn moves up. He's got 94 overall now, and is going to be really, really something. Dante Jackson also moves up to superstar, and CJ Henderson moves up to star. So the defense got a lot of love. Tyrone Porter also goes up to superstar, and he's up to 83 now after his rookie season. Owusu Koromoa stays at star. Jimmy Rogers was a star. I think Tyree Wilson drops from superstar to star, and so that's kind of what we're looking at. So I think it's interesting. I love the fact that J.C. Horn. I love the idea of having some really great corners. Stokes is in line, but C.J. Henderson is next. We like the depth that we have there, but as you're going to see here in just a minute, it could get disrupted very quickly. It could get disrupted because we got problems on our salaries. We do have problems on our salaries. But before we get into the salary, I need you to know that we're going to have to sign an offensive and defensive coordinator. Both of our coordinators, which I think we picked up them up last year. They were robbed. They went on to better jobs. We'll see where they went, but we're going to have to hire offensive and defensive coordinator, which we plan to do in the offseason video. But the big thing for this video is going to really be the team salaries. This is going to be kind of what, after the big win, you got to say, with all those players upgrading and being being key to the Super Bowl run, now you got to worry about, can you sign everybody back again? So Bryce Young in the quarterback situation looks good. We don't have to worry about him. He's got 3 years remaining. He's making a lot of money, but we need that, and we're going to keep him. Blackshear we've signed for another 4 years, and we're actually probably getting a good deal with him. Actually, no, he's got 21. He's got $8 million. Let's see, what is it? Actually, he's being paid okay. We'll see what he does. Probably underpaid for what he did, but for 79 overall, not that bad. Jalen Samuels, we're good. Here's where we start to have to make some decisions. So Mingo we want to keep, Lucas we want to keep. Chosen Anderson, we think we're going to have to pull away from. Not getting what we need out of that 15 million. Either this is a release or we package him in some sort of trade. But with that salary, it may not be solid to make the trade. I mean, I guess his yearly, he's going to make 8 million next year. And then he's done. So if a player wants to take him as a one-time mentor, then maybe they'll take the 8 million. But we'll have to see about that. Lucas, we're keeping. Rashi, we're again another potential trade target. Don't think we need him. Think we like Scott a little bit better. Scott's up for his renewal. We want to try to sign him, but we're not going to sign Rice. And Rice is another player that may be looking to go. And again, as we sort of decide who we want to keep on the wide receiver band, I think we're going to keep Mingo, Lucas, and Scott, and maybe we get a veteran in there somewhere potentially, but we've got the $57 million cap space, and I think we're going to need all of our money. So I don't know that we're going to make a big splash in the free agency this year. Looking at the tight ends next year, everybody is going to go. Definitely going to go away from Hayden Hurst. Had a lot of drops last game. Boy, did he have a lot of drops. He had a ton of drops. And for the 78 and 76, we're going to move on from him, especially for this 23 million. So the idea is, again, do we have a trade target, trade partner? Probably not. And if we don't, I think we're going to move away from him. We're going to look to see if we can unload him this year. But if we can't, well, we got to do something, because all of these players come up in next year's deal. So I'm looking to move Hurst. I think we're going to keep Tommy Tremble, and we'll make a decision about Ian Thomas. But with 17 million, maybe we will let Ian Thomas go. That is a ton of money. Wow. 13 million for Ian Thomas. I mean, 17 million? Sheesh. Okay. So we got work to do on the tight end. Left tackle is good. Left guard is good. But this is something we got to do something about. Next year, we're going to make a decision on these. So we may be looking to draft here. Bozeman's making a lot of money for not a lot of output. He's 29 years old. Another player that we may look to trade. Who knows? Corbett, 28 years old, and he has a year left in his. So you see, if you're seeing this, like, next year is a big year. We probably should start preparing this year for next year. Corbett has been a huge contributor for us. And he might be right in his prime. So we may have to go ahead and trade him. I think we're going to keep Terrence Steele. And we're going to keep, obviously we're keeping Burns. We signed him to an extension. But Shy Tuttle is another player making a lot of money that we may have to go away from. Another 28-year-old player who doesn't seem to be doing very much for that salary. We won't be signing Marquise Haynes. He's got to go. I think we're going to keep Larry Payne, though, and we may move Tyree Wilson to the right end, get rid of these other three players, which might leave us a hole at right outside linebacker. Derek Brown is actually trade target for us. Again, I think if we could find a defensive tackle who can do more for less, then I think we're going to move on. Derek Brown may be the guy that gets us into the first round. We may trade him in order to get into the first round and make some selections. That's going to be a big loss on our defensive line, though. So if we do that, we've got to get something at defensive tackle. But that's kind of the plan with the 36 mil coming. Man, we may be moving on from Derek Brown. Keeping Owusu Koromoa and Ventrell Miller. Von Bell. Again, there's a lot of players whose contract will be due in next season, and we won't have the money to cover them. I don't know about Von Bell. If we, I don't know. Maybe if there's a solid draft. Von Bell. I'd like to bring him back. Man, we'll have to see with him. Tyree Wilson, I think we're moving him to right end, and that might make some room for Barner to come up and make some plays, make a name for himself, or we may have to draft a right outside linebacker. We'll look to the draft and see if there's something there. J.C. Horn's contract is up. Dante Jackson's contract will be up. Stokes, basically all of our top cornerbacks will be looking for contract extensions next year. We want to bring back J.C. Horn, but Dante Jackson may be trade. $34 million. We did just re-sign him, I believe, but I think we may have to try to move on from Dante. Either we move on from Dante or we move on from Henderson, which is another huge contract, and he's looking to have an extension next year. I really like Henderson. He is the younger player, but he's not rated as high. Is he a star? He is a star dev. So Henderson could be another trade option for us as a younger player. And then Dante Jackson, I think he's a superstar, right? Yeah. I mean, who? But we do have decisions to make here. Again, a lot of the one remaining, we're going to turn into zeros. We're not going to re-sign Thomas Oliver. Xavier Woods, we need a free safety and then Porter, and we're not going to sign Najee Johnson, so we need a strong safety. So I'll put together a little list of all the things that we need, but basically the moral of the story is that we need to make room for next year's big superstars re-signing, and we're going to have to. That means that we're going to have to shed some of our stars to do that. That's going to be crazy to do. So let's take a look quick at our roster as it stands right now. I know we kind of did that just a second ago, but now without the salary stuff, let's just look real quick. So we've got Bryce Young and Coral. This is a big quarterback draft. We'll talk about that in a second. So maybe we get a quarterback, but we're not looking to start him. Running back is okay. Fullback is okay. Here's where we're looking at, man. Chosen Anderson probably not going to stay with us. Mingo and Lucas will stay. Rice will go. Scott will stay. We may end up looking at this Jeremiah Barker guy. See what he's got. But everybody else has got to go. We've got to figure out what to do here. Hayden Hurst will not be with this team at the end of this offseason. We're either cutting him or we're trading him. That's going to leave us Tommy Trimble and Ian Thomas. And we may be trading Ian Thomas as well. We'll see. So that means we're probably going to need to draft a tight end. Talked about left tackle and left guard. Probably going to be moving on from Austin Corbett with his salary. Pretty big salary that we need going forward. Still going to move on from Tuttle. Or at least look to do that. Going to go ahead and release Marquise Haynes and So on paper, we look like we're all right, but we're going to end up, just for the salary stuff, we're going to have to get rid of a lot of players. I think Tershawn Wharton, no, Derek Brown is the guy that we're thinking about moving on from. Wow, that's just going to be a big deal. Left outside linebacker, Von Bell is someone we got to decide about. Need an outside linebacker as we move Tyree to the right end. What's that right end right now? Larry Payne. Kind of hate to, I don't know, maybe we don't do that. I don't know. But I feel like, well, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we keep that as is. JC Horn, Dante, all these players, oh my gosh, they're so good. I love our line. I love our cornerbacks. I wish I could bring back all of them, but I'm not going to be able to. I think Dante Jackson is going to be the guy we have to trade, or Henderson. Could be Henderson. Could be Henderson. But we got to free up space, man. We got to get a backup free safety and strong safety. So lots to think about going into this offseason. A lot to think about going in. Now let's real quick, the last little bit we want to do here is look at the players that we've been kind of looking at. So I've favorited a few of these. We're just gonna go position by position because I think it'll be easier. So I didn't pick any quarterbacks. Did look at a couple running backs, kind of as some backup, maybe a power back here, kind of like Miles Blake. He's got good vision. He's a 3rd and 4th round, which I think is where we would end up having to pick him. At the end of the day, it just comes down to the trucking and the break tackle. I'm hoping he ends up with a B for break tackles. But that's kind of what we're looking for from him. Again, kind of a backup guy. So not that big a deal. We did look at Vernon Hayward just because he's got the B in breaking tackle. He is an elusive back, and we already have that in Raheem. But we did look at him. Got the B breaking tackle. So probably not the main guy though. It'll probably, if we go halfback, we'll go with Blake if he's available. Nothing at fullback that we noted, nothing at wide receiver. However, we did look at a couple tight ends, and I do like Mark Allen as the tight end. Beautiful player here for the reasons of catching and run blocking and awareness. I like all three of those. This guy, and he's showing up as a third and 4th round draft pick. I don't know how that is. I feel like he could go earlier than that with those traits. I mean, he looks pretty good. We'll look more at his information as he goes by, but I kind of really like Mark Allen. I hope he can become a Panther. 'Cause that guy, he looks fantastic. Dom Albel, that's his name, player out of Ohio State. Has great to elite speed. Break tackle is high. The problem with him is his run blocking and his blocking in general feels like it's going to be a little sus, but he's got the medium route, the deep route, and the break tackling going on for him, and the catch in traffic. So he could be the replacement to Hayden Hurst as we move on from him. So either one of these players I'd be happy with. We'll see what it comes down to. Left tackle, Jose Mays. Again, I don't know that we're going to be able to get into the first round, and if we do, if we're going to want to use our pick on a left tackle, but what we need is a center, and maybe this guy can be converted into a center. He does have the run block power, the impact blocking, and again, as we start thinking about the run, maybe he'll be a good guy for us. Normally, left tackle would be a pass block position. And so we might move him to that right guard if we move away from right guard, if we're able to draft him. Same thing here. This guy's got some pretty good stats as well. Run block finesse, awareness. So these two guys I think are pretty good and may not be at left tackle, may just have to move around on the offensive line. Couldn't find anybody who's a center, and so that's kind of what those left tackles are going to be. And then we did find some players here for right guard that we're paying attention to. Patrick Wakefield looks like he could be pretty good. He's got good impact blocking and awareness, but doesn't look amazing. Not a surefire deal. I like those left tackles a little bit better. Here's another power back in Nazir Ali. Looks like the Raiders are in desperate need of a right guard. We may be soon as well. Another okay prospect, not amazing. Interesting that he's showing up as a round 1 prospect. And then Easton Gore, another okay prospect. Feels weird to want to, maybe a number 2 if he does fall in the number 2, maybe. But we're at the end of number 2, so of round 2. So not quite sure about that. Right tackle. Again, looking at players that can be converted. Really like this guy, Glenn Baxter, with run finesse, run block, impact, awareness. I like him. I like him a lot as a young player. Definitely somebody that we want to be looking at. That looks at that's the offensive line. We looked at the right end. Again, the concept is we might need a right end or a right outside linebacker. I kind of want to move Tyree Wilson to the right end, or we may be looking to get rid of the right end that was there, Marquise Hayward, and we need to get him a backup. So looking at these 2 players, really like this undrafted free agent. Undrafted player, potentially. He's got B power moves, B tackle, C awareness. Could be a nice backup that steps in and services every once in a while. So Jamie Copeland could be a late pick. But Derek Foote, block shedding is solid. Power moves is solid. Player out of Michigan. Looks pretty good with the power moves and the block shedding. I love the block shedding. Could be a solid pick for us if we're able to get to him. So we got some pretty good options, I think. It's going to be tough to make some of these decisions. Definitely going to need a defensive tackle. And the player that we like the best, I believe, out of this list, I think it was Brian McLean. Let me take a look here. Texas Tech. Yeah, I think this is him. Kind of a quick defensive tackle. Play recognition, is a very smart player, and he has B on block shedding and B on awareness. And again, a 3rd and 4th round pick. I really like him for that pick. He'll come in alongside either Wharton or Derek Brown. Actually, it probably won't be Derek Brown. So Wharton, and I like that. Not sure a big fan of Michael Owens. He's got F in tackling, and I don't know about that, especially for defensive tackle. I mean, we need you to make the tackle. Sean Anderson comes in again, also finesse moves and great speed, and could be a player that really comes up as well. So these 2 bottom players, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to take Michael Owens out. These are 2 players that I would actually consider for a defensive tackle. Left linebacker position. Ooh, quite a few for right outside linebacker. This guy is the speed rusher. Again, looking for speed on that linebacker position. If we move Tyree, this guy could be the guy. Brian Franklin. I like everything but the zone coverage. He could be an interesting guy to pay more attention to out of North Carolina. Another player, Greg Dugan, is a player that I really kind of like. Love his zone coverage, and he's got great speed, and we want speed. So he's got A in zone coverage, B to D in man. If we can do a C, I'm actually okay with that. Play recognition is good. Again, coming in as kind of a backup player, potentially a starter. But I like Greg Dugan. I think he looks pretty good. A few other of these players we can look at him. This is a third day pick, and we don't have enough information on him. Nothing's on finesse moves, but don't need that from him. But I love the A on the hit power, B on the play recognition. And I'm very curious to see what he does with man coverage and zone coverage. This could be a guy for us as well for the kind of defense that we want to run. Cornerbacks, we feel pretty good about our cornerback situation, but Rashawn Weber is a solid player. B man coverage, B press, 6'3" and 198. I'm really attracted to that bigger height. Curious to see what his speed is going to look like. It says solid to good, but we are talking about cornerbacks here, and so that still could be in the 90s. Definitely want to get like a 92, 91, 92 at least. Curious to see what I see his press is at B, his tackles at B. Zone coverage is A to C though, and man coverage is B. So this is another nice prospect for us in the second to third round, to see where he falls. Free safety is also the thing that we need. Really like Michael Flores, like his tackle, like his hit power. Need him to be a strong zone coverage, and so if he ends up with an A or a B on zone coverage, then this would be a guy that we would definitely want to go for. Probably not an A or a B in round 2, but even with C, we'd take it because of the other things, and maybe we could develop him. Chauncey Hamlin out of Florida State, a 6-foot zone archetype free safety. Kind of like him as well. Same thing, man coverage. He's got C in zone coverage, A in hit power, A in awareness. I like those awarenesses. And then here we are with Ethan Harvey, another player that is okay, probably shouldn't be rated 1 to 2. This looks more like 3 to 4 numbers. So if he falls, then maybe we'll look at him. I like his height, and I like the man coverage and zone coverage possibilities with him. I think that's it for the prospects. So you guys have seen a lot of the prospects. I think our kicker is up for, we got to sign him. I don't think we're going to sign him to a lot. So I need to go back and take a look at the kicker. As a matter of fact, let's look at the kickers real quick. Do we have any great kickers? Let's see, kick accuracies. Okay, who's this guy? Awareness, who cares? Short accuracy is an F. I mean, I'm doing it. Kick power is elite. All right. Well, maybe Larry Spitzer will be our 7th, our Mr. Irrelevant pick this year. Okay, man. I think that's gonna do it. So, man, an interesting time ahead. Got lots to do. Got to fill in our roster. Got to deal with some cap stuff for next year. Maybe land on what we want to do with the draft. So hopefully that's a pretty good preview for you guys as we move into the next video, as we walk into the off season. Man, I would love to do the off season live, but I think I'm ahead of you guys quite a bit. So we won't be able to do that live, but we will do it and try to cut it down to where you can get it in a digestible format, so you can be in with us. Leave some comments below about some of the things maybe that you think we should do. Maybe you disagree with some of the moves I was thinking about. Curious to hear what you guys are thinking. What we didn't do is look at players to negotiate. Let's look real quick. So Tyler, you know what? Let's go ahead and, no, we won't make it. I said we won't make any decisions today. So players that that are up, we're going to try to bring back Scott. We may let Miller go. Henley, we're definitely letting go. We're going to let Nazi go. Probably going to let him go. Going to let Marquise Haynes go. Yeah, pretty much everybody's going to be let go except for Tyler Scott. We're going to try to extend him. And other than that, man, we're letting everybody else walk. But yeah, so I'll see you guys on the next video when we rock the off season. This is Pastor's Game 2. God loves you, and so do I, and I will see you when I see you. Peace.